We begin with Poverty Index report, where the presidency has disputed the latest economic report by Nigeria's biggest multilateral lender, the World Bank, which estimated that 139 million citizens were living in poverty. The federal government describes the figure as unrealistic and detached from the country's economic realities. President Bola Tinubu's special advisor on media and public communications, Sunday Dare, says in a post on his official X handle on Wednesday that the poverty figures must be properly contextualized within the limits of global poverty measurement models. The presidency explained that the 139 million figure was derived from the global poverty line of $2.15 per person per day, set in 2017 using purchasing power parity, and should not be mistaken for an actual headcount of poor Nigerians. To discuss this, we are joined by business and public policy analyst Kenneth Ikenwa. Kenneth, you're welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. How do you reconcile the World Bank's report of 139 million Nigerians in poverty with recent government reforms and the claims that they're making? Note, I think our population is 250 million, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
I'll first of all like to start my analysis by commending the men of the presidency for doing a good job. What they have reminded us of is the fact that they are living true to one of the laws of the 48, one of the laws of what we call the 48 laws of power, which is to always sing the praise of the master. And for that, I think they're really doing well. Now, let's come back to the crux of the matter. It's a new dawn in Nigeria where a lot of figures have been thrown left and right. And this borders on big data, this borders on data analysis, and people actually using data to actually score a point or underscore a point. And my professor, Big Ben, Professor Gujava, did teach me something in my formative days, learning under him. You know, figures don't lie, but people actually tell lies with figures. And so it's sad to see that we become so figure-centric in Nigeria and not actually realistic. Now, the truth of the matter is that we are not doing badly as a country, as an economy, given the macroeconomic variables and other statistics and data that have to do with that. But when you come down to the microeconomics, issues, policies, projects, and programs that bother on individuals, bother on households, that bother on the perception of the average Nigerian about the state of the economy and how the average Nigerian is able to survive given the present state of the economy, I think that we are being economical with the truth or with the reality on ground. Now, the World Bank sometimes has been viewed possibly as an agent of neocolonial nuances and manacles, but that doesn't change the fact that educated Nigerians and those that are trying at least to continue to bear the burdens of being a Nigerian and being a Nigerian are not able to actually say the truth about the situation down here. The truth about the matter is that a good number of Nigerians are not finding life as easy as it used to be. And then when international institutions, organizations like the World Bank come up with these statistics, I think the burden should be on the government to go back to the drawing board, to conduct a public poll and actually find out what is the true state of the nation.
So Kenneth,
the indexes are not good. Indexes are not good. That's the truth.
So Kenneth, so let's take a look at it. Let's use the numbers now. 2.15 dollar per day. That's going to amount to how much today? Let's say somewhere around, if I'm not mistaken, 4,500 naira.
About 3,000 naira a day.
Yeah.
About 3,000 naira a day,
yeah. A bit more than that. So are Nigerians living with less than, well, you say 3,000 naira a day? Are you saying that the World Bank is correct? Are you saying that the Nigerian government should actually take into account what the World Bank is saying and perhaps maybe do some more research, but that you believe that they are correct?
The World Bank is giving us a blueprint that we can actually work with. Now, when you take a look at Nigerians and say the average Nigerian is living under 3,000 naira a day, how much is the minimum wage? If the minimum wage is 70,000 naira for a month, 3,000 naira a day comes to 90,000 naira a month. So how many Nigerians are actually earning 90,000 naira a month? It is not particularly about what the minimum wage is or what the living wage should actually be. It is actually about whatever wage you actually earn in Nigeria can actually do for you, either as a single Nigerian or as a family member. Now let's take, for example, the basic staple food in Nigeria. A size of loaf, a standard size of loaf a loaf of bread in Nigeria costs 1,500 naira, and that is just $1. Now, for a family of four, a man, wife, and two children, how many loaves would they need to eat in a week for them to be able to survive? So that takes 1,500 by 30 days, taking 45,000 naira out of your basic salary or basic minimum wage of 70,000.
Okay, then, Kenneth.
When we talk about poverty, when we talk about the lives, I have my own yardsticks. I mean, necessarily not follow what the World Bank is saying. Basically, I call it the ABS model. A is for affordability, B is for balance, and S is for satisfaction. Now, how many things are affordable in Nigeria? Is healthcare affordable? Is food and nutrition affordable? How many Nigerians can afford to eat one apple a day? If we follow the aphorism that an apple a day keeps you away from the doctor. An apple in Nigeria today, a good one, the brand Pink Lady, costs about 500 naira. If I have a family of four, I will need 2,000 naira to give my family a good 4 apples a day and a loaf of bread. These are issues. How many Nigerians can afford the best of shelter? How many Nigerians can afford good clothing? We had celebrated at a point in time in this country that Nigerians were no longer buying okrika or going to the bend down boutique to do shopping. But now Nigerians are back. Every nook and cranny of
Kenneth, let's bring in policy now, Kenneth.
Nigeria.
Let's bring in policy now, Kenneth. You've actually noted your claims are, well, absolutely correct when you talk about how much Nigerians are feeding on, comparing it to the cost for food. But when we talk about policies, what specific policies do you believe have contributed to the persistence or deepening of poverty in Nigeria despite reform efforts?
Well, there is a potpourri of policies that have led us to where we are today. And I make bold to say that these policies are not in themselves bad. But what we are suffering from in Nigeria in economics is known as the good/bad paradox. So we have this potpourri of good policies, but the implementation and the strategy for implementing them and the structures and the system in place make them, churn out the kind of situation that is not too good that we find in Nigeria. I think the one I would really like to speak to is the fact that the policy of the devaluation, the consistent devaluation of the Nigerian naira vis-a-vis international currencies. And we should have been cautious about that because we look at the fact that Nigeria is an import-dependent nation and not an export-led nation. So if most of what we do, most of the trade we do is based on the deficit of importing things, we should have been careful about that. So many things that Nigerians are supposed to be able to afford, the drugs, the food, the clothing, and other things, a good number of them are imported, and because we have not built our capabilities and manufacturing capacity in Nigeria, we have to spend so much, and that has created different types of inflation, from hyperinflation to skimp inflation to shrink inflation. I thought, and I will have watched that if the government had done something about that and not, gone wholesale into that, that may have, lightened the burden. Then we talk about the popular on the subsidy removal. Fantastic. But I'm of the view that should have been done within a systematic, logical, incremental way to prepare for, the burdens that will have brought to Nigeria and to prepare us mentally, psychologically, and psycho-spiritually for the effects that it has brought on. So when we look at it, the World Bank has confirmed that these policies have brought some degree of macroeconomic stability.
So, Kenneth.
But when you come to economic analysis, you must focus on Pareto optimality.
Great.
How many percentage of Nigerians are actually benefiting from these policies?
Great. So since these policies have deepens the situation when it comes to the poverty level of Nigerians. You talked about fuel subsidy removal, and then there's that of the naira devaluation. So what short-term or maybe medium-term policies do you think can help mitigate the situation currently as we find it?
You see, that's the problem with Nigeria. We love to speak a lot of big grammar and use a lot of semantics and, bring all these concepts and all these variables to the table. Simple, very, very simple. Let's do what China did. I'm going to believe more in this administration. I'm going to canvass for this administration if they will just do two things. Get me 12 professors, one from the University of Lagos, one from ABU Zaria, one from the University of Ibadan, and one from the University of Nigeria. Bring these 12 people together, give Nigerians, professors of economics, professors of business, professors of strategies, professors of entrepreneurship, give Nigerians a blueprint that is in the similitude of what China did. How do you intend to bring out 100 million Nigerians out of poverty before the election in 2027? Simple. That's all I want to hear. If I start saying what policies, over, had all these policies since I was born, before I was born, and after I even died, these policies will even be there. I'm not dying anytime soon anyway. But we should stop talking about policies. Let's talk about strategy. Let's talk about the blueprint. China did it. Malaysia did it. Singapore did it. We can do it. We have everything it takes in Nigeria to be able to do it. Bring the eggheads, bring the intellectuals on board, bring the technocrats on board, and give us a blueprint. This is what we want to do by 2026, come 2027, to bring 100 million Nigerians out of hardship so that everybody can have access to the commonwealth of Nigeria. That's all I want to hear from this government, and they'll get my votes. That is if I'm going to vote. Thank you.
Well, Kenneth, I want to say thank you for such passionate responses this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Always my pleasure.